It was a pretty wild ride. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, along with Jason, who is my co-writer on the season, and Kyle and Josh, who helped with all the Machinima stuff, as well as the amazing talent on the far side of the table, who had awesome trust in me to take them in weird places and do weird things to them.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, do you know what the final count was of days for production for season 16?
Oh, it was in the 130s, I think, yeah.
130, yeah.
6 months, almost exactly.
Wow.
It usually takes us about a month to make the first episode, and then every episode after that takes about a week.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
We burned through the entire lead that we've built up pretty quickly.
Yeah, this first episode this year was a bit of a doozy because we had that title sequence, which I think was meant to be something that we kind of just like outsource and forget about, but it turned out to be like a big kind of like internal compositing burden on top of everything else.
You had it on your screen like every day I came into the office.
Yeah, it was a lot of work making that cool thing, but I really wanted like an awesome, it was sort of inspired by Halt and Catch Fire, which I think is just the coolest intro. And I wanted the Shizno Paradox, which is this 2-season arc, to have like an intro that gets you like pumped up. I think it does its job. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here today. I'm sure a lot of people who have seen this latest season are maybe curious about the ending and what it means.
I can't believe we couldn't afford the same voice actor for Church. That was really fucked up. We're really skimping it these days, damn.
Too soon, Miles, too soon.
You know, we're probably not going to talk too much about it because we want to tell the story on the screen, but we are going to talk about a few things, I guess. All we are willing to reveal, I just got back from Canada, and if a little bit of it slips in, I'm really sorry. What we are going to reveal is that is not...
like, what does that mean? Like you're going to apologize in the middle of a sentence?
No, it means I might say a boot or...
Oh, dude, I swear to God, if you say a boot once on this panel, I'll never let you forget it.
That's pretty mean. So what we can say about the ending of season 16 is that is definitely not Private Jimmy at the end, posing as Church in Church's body. It is a character from season 16 who is sort of along in a lot of the story and is now doing something else with our guys. What else can we talk about? The Machinima guys can talk about what we shot it in. It is definitely not the new Halo. We don't have that.
Hey, what was the name of the guy who played Private Jimmy?
Did everyone actually, did people think that was like, they got them, straight from E3, they got it?
There were some comments on the live stream that were like, oh, it's, what's it called? Infinity?
Infinity, I think?
Yeah.
Halo Infinity.
It's not Infinity, Master Chief Collection 2, right?
Halo 2 Anniversary.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. The plan for the Shizno Paradox, seasons 16 and 17, was always meant to be 2 seasons. When I originally outlined it, it was a story that was looking to me like about 32 episodes long. And so it made the most sense to kind of chop it right in half and do kind of 2 16-episode seasons, which isn't to say that next season is going to be that long. It's just sort of like how it's shaping out at the time where I was writing that original treatment. So if you're curious why this season has fewer episodes, that's sort of the reason why. It's just where the story should have was naturally divided. And I also wanted to do much longer episodes this season, and they're not much longer, but they're also like a bit longer than any other season before, if you average them all out.
Especially the finale.
Yeah, that was a bit of a doozy.
Can we just get a quick round of applause for Joe for the finale?
Yeah! I'll never forget, very early on in the planning for the season, Joe told me 2 things. One was that he wanted a live-action Cyclops fight, and the other was that he wanted to have O'Malley and Donut fighting through time, and the whole thing would be animated. And I went, can't wait for you to tell Cohen, who's the producer.
I was reading the episode 15 script, and I was like, this is where the budget went.
Yeah, sorry, Jason, I cut all your animated scenes. Yeah, so that's really pretty much about all that we can talk about the next season because, you know, we're working on it now. We're starting on the process of figuring out, you know, exactly how these scripts are going to come together. There's certainly a plan in place for, you know, where the story is going. Like it's plotted out on sort of like a high level. So we definitely didn't like write ourselves into a weird paradox or anything like that.
No, not literally or anything.
You know, the other thing I'll say before I stop talking so much is, you know, when this season 16 started, it was a solo project. I was writing it alone. And then as I have more responsibilities around Rooster Teeth and other projects, it became clear that another writer would certainly be a huge help. And Cullen insisted we reach out to Jason, who I didn't really know much at the time. And we had a Skype call, and within 5 minutes, we were talking about the same science fiction books and the same weird time travel comedies that we love. And it was like, oh no, we're going to be friends. This is great. And working with Jason has been an absolute blast. I think he's brought a lot of joy and love to the season that I really appreciate. So enough about talking and stuff. Jason, why don't you talk a little bit about working on RvB? I mean, you got brought on. How did you feel about it?
No, it's wonderful. There's so much freedom with it. There's because you have obviously the trellis structure of all these seasons beforehand to grow up. I don't know. It's wonderful to have, because I've only ever worked on my own personal projects before, and to come to something with so much heritage, so much fans, so much love in it. And it's working out like, what do these characters deserve, and then not giving it to them. Working out the places it hasn't gone yet, which is like where I had a season that was time travel, because it's had so much history. Yeah, and also working with Joe, because I love Joe, and I would never say it to him, obviously,
Should I go?
Yeah, can you switch seats with Jason, please, Mo?
It was really great. I think it was this time last year was the first time I actually really met and spoke with you. It was the last day of RTX. We were all packing up, getting ready to go, and you kind of flagged me down. I was a big fan of Starship Goldfish, which we shared at the Anim Fest Saturday Morning Cartoons last year. And by the way, it's totally on YouTube now, and you should totally check it out. But yeah, we got to talking, and around that time, we were looking to bring on some new writers for various things, and one of the things that we would typically kind of test people out on is red versus blue PSAs and camp scripts, so just kind of make for really good spec scripts, just to kind of make sure that like a person can understand a character that isn't their own and can write for them and can kind of get the tone of something that's already established. And I'll remember the first time I was like, hey, just Skype me anytime if you have like character questions or things like that. And you're like, oh, absolutely, let's do it this day. I was like, okay, so we get on Skype. And like the fucking first words out of your mouth are like, I want to explore Caboose's ego. I really want to get into, and I was just like, fuck, this dude's on another level than me. But yeah, it's been tremendously fun working with you, with both of you. It's been great.
Stop it.
Kyle and Josh, this season had a lot of interesting challenges from a Machinima point of view. We had new halos. We had a lot of green screen, probably more green screen than ever before. Why don't you guys talk a little bit about some of the things we did this season that we haven't really done before?
Let's see. Where do you start? I think the one thing that comes to mind was the big tracking shot that you wanted to do with Jax through the film set. Oh, yeah. That was one of the first major challenges because we needed to get the camera speed right, but we need to get 3 characters walking the same speed, not running, but walking. And there needs to be people doing stuff in the background, and it was a whole big thing. Josh, what was the first challenge you remember?
I remember we sat down with Joe for a number of hours for the Gust episode, the Blarg episode, my bad. And that was neat because you had to make sure that all the angles were going to be just right for all the terrain so that you could go and shoot live action Blarg and put it in. So that was neat.
Which was interesting because when we were shooting that, I had not seen any of the concept art, or I didn't know what environments you were using. So we were there on set, and Joe would tell me, he would like pantomime out in there and say, like, there are mountains here. You're going to walk around them, and then you're going to appear here. And so he was having to describe all of these physical locations that you all had scouted out, and I was trying to like picture it in my head, like how it all fits together.
Yeah, we had to learn like a shorthand too. Because it's hard to, you couldn't see basically anything out of that. So the first takes we did, it's like, all right, so grunt step, stomp, and then eventually it was like, all right, do more of the grunt step, you know what I mean? And then short pause, roar.
It's like learning how to dance.
Yeah.
I was gonna say grunt step's my new favorite like music genre out there. It's fucking rad. Y'all need to get up on that shit.
We got plenty of grunt step at the rave.
It's gonna be lit.
On the subject of Cyclopses, Gus, I talked at the mega panel yesterday about how we were recording Simmons lines, and after I kind of ambushed you and said, "Hey, you want to be in a thing?"
Yeah, it was funny because we hadn't, I think no episodes had come out yet. I think it was our first recording session for this season of Red vs. Blue, and you said, "Hey, we have this idea. Do you want to be a live-action Cyclops this season?" I said, "Sure." And you said, "Great, I'm glad you agreed to it before I explained to you what that means." And
I
then
think I checked with you one more time, and I was like, "Are you sure? Because it's gonna suck."
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah. We have a little behind-the-scenes video that Editorial put together.
I meant that, but.
You can leave the stream on for that, I think.
Yeah, nothing. Don't worry about it. You're doing great.
Okay, cool. Hit it. Hit the video. Play the video. Play that video.
What?
And I think we have someone just off stage. You might want to join us. Come on out.
Come on up here, Matt.
Welcome.
When's the panel start? Is it going
Hey,
on?
Matt, did you know that you're the most popular person on this stage?
Joe's saying exactly what we prepared ahead of time. Thanks,
I have a decibel reader for volume.
You fucking loser.
To measure crowd reaction, because I needed to make sure I'm more popular than Miles. And no. And Matt's more popular than all of us. He's 101 decibels.
I mean, how can you compete with such raw charisma?
Yeah, that's actually like a dangerous level of volume, so.
If you could just not again. I'm just kidding.
When we were filming the Cyclops stuff, initially, like you're right, I was supposed to pull the head off of the armor, but I remember I was holding the toy and I was looking at it, and I said, I think I could bite the head off. And you looked so happy. You're like, yes, let's figure that out. Let's do that. Because I had those prosthetic teeth in. I wasn't sure if I could fit.
I was worried about you choking.
It would have been
a bad ER visit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made it because it took a long time to take that stuff off even.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about the process for getting into that is not quick or easy.
So I had to go get a mold made of my head. And that takes about an hour. And even if you're not claustrophobic, it is the most claustrophobic thing in your life. Because they cover your head. I don't know what all the layers are. Like one layer is like latex and then plaster and then all this shit. And eventually after about 30 minutes of this application, you realize that nothing from your head is touching the outside world. Like you can hear people working on your head, but you can't feel them working on your head. And your whole face is sealed. Like your nostrils are open and that's it. And at about 40 minutes, I started freaking the fuck out. And I was like, and you have no way to communicate that. You can't say, like, are you almost done? Just like, you raise your hand a little bit and you're like you're trying to communicate with your hands and that's all you have.
They're like, oh, it looks like he's having fun.
Yeah. So that was an hour. Then they made that mold. And then the day of the shoot, I showed up really early, like 7 a.m. I think, or something. And I think
way earlier than anyone else.
You were there. I was going to be mad if you weren't there, but you were there. But I think putting on the makeup took 3 hours. We shot, yeah, that's right. Putting on the makeup took 3 hours. We shot all the green screen stuff for 8 hours, and then it took an hour to take all the makeup off.
Yeah, and 8 hours is not a lot of time for like 60 shots. I mean, we were blowing through, like, we were doing 1 or 2 takes. We were just hustling. I think I drank like 4 Red Bulls.
Joe had to come back and ask for additional budget for Red vs. Blue this season because it wasn't planned for. And, he was trying to explain all the reasons creatively he thought justifying the extra dollars, would make sense in the show. And then finally he said, and it's going to take, Gus is going to be super uncomfortable for a long time. And I said, why didn't you start there?
Yeah,
I would have approved this, like, immediately.
I said, why don't we cut the budget further? We'll just gouge out one of Gus's eyes.
You were most of the way there because those sandals were super uncomfortable that the Cyclops had on. So anytime I had to stomp, it was pain. It sucked. They were like cutting into the soles of my feet, my delicate feet.
The seashell bra, though, how was that?
Oh, that was all right. I liked it. I kept it, yeah.
That was my surprise to the art people. Is 2 days before the shoot, I was like, and there's a girl Cyclops. So buy a shell bikini and a wig. I didn't want them to over-prepare. I wanted it to look crappy, so I gave them basically no time to do it.
And store-bought only goes down to B cup as well, so you got to start out fresh.
So Bernie, I mean, you've been working on RvB longer than anyone, obviously. You see this show as like a child that's sort of grown up and walking into the world, or how do you feel about RvB these days?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I should say preseason, when we were talking about the storyline too, it's like we have to think about it in terms of a very long-term project, you know? And I know what it's like to write individual seasons, but when Joe started pitching time travel and bending space and time, the big question was like, how do you come back from this, right? Like, what does season 19 look like of the show? Should we get to a season 19? So those things are important. And so I know a lot of people at the end of season 16 were wondering where it's going to go next, but it's already all been planned out.
Yeah, you know, I think I mentioned this in a journal post, I think, when I first started on the job, but I've always considered RvB to be like the Amazing Spider-Man. You know, Spider-Man's been a comic book for 40 years, and writers come on board, and they take him in new directions and introduce new villains, and then another writer takes over, and they have a different voice and a different vision for the thing. And I imagine RvB as this thing that can just go on forever, as long as new writers are always coming in, bringing voices and bringing new ideas and expanding the world, you know? I think there's always a way to bring it back to the reds and blues in some canyon somewhere, and then they go off on another thing.
Well, it's a question that's existed, I think. It's probably the most common since the end of season 1. The most common question asked is, are you going to make more Red versus Blue? And through season 10, through season 11, season 15, people kept asking, are you going to be making more Red versus Blue? Even if we ended with them clearly going somewhere and it's a huge cliffhanger on a season, they're like, are you going to make more of these things? And I always thought, it's like, you know, if after 15 years of making a show, we're not just going to stop and not tell anybody. So we made a website years ago called areYouMakingMoreRedVersusBlue.com. And you can go to it on your phone. It's just a big image that says yes. And there's a mobile version of it.
It's mobile friendly.
Yeah, there's a mobile version that just has text that says yes. And then there's a YouTube channel for it with a video that just says yes. And so it's funny because I was just looking up, I was reading comments about season 16, and somebody on Reddit asked, are they going to make more Red versus Blue? And as is the point of the site, somebody else on Reddit just linked areYouMakingMoreRedVersusBlue.com, and he replied back, yeah, I know about that site, I just don't know if they've updated it. So I don't know how we communicate it to people anymore.
Well, you can make, are they updating, is Rivers Blue going on .com?
What we'll do is we'll make a Snapchat account, and every 24 hours you have to update the story to say yes.
Yeah. We updated areYouMakingMoreRedVersusBlue.com in like 2011, but people didn't like the new site, and we lost a lot of users on areYouMakingMoreRedVersusBlue.com. There's an app coming this summer for Are You Making More Red versus Blue? So you can always say updated. But I do have to say, one of the things that I really have always liked about the series is that our approach to writing it has always been to tell distinct stories that we want to tell. And I feel like because the characters, you know, even characters we've added in later seasons, they're so easily identifiable, and you can quickly relate to them. We had to do that because all of our characters in the early days looked exactly the same and were slightly different colors. So we had to have really strong personalities you can connect to. But that's given us the ability to write these stories where there's starting points and stopping points where, you know, you could watch seasons 1 through 5 and then that's a complete story. You know, the Recollection series through season 8, that's its own story. Then the Freelancer Saga, then Chorus, and now the series that Joe's working on. So it's like, I've always liked that about the series. We've always approached it in a way where if you want to, you can have very clear stopping points and you can definitely pick your favorite arcs in that. So Your analogy's perfect. It's a lot like a comic book at this point that's been
You know,
running
it's like
for...
I like Brubaker's run on Daredevil. You know, I don't like what came after it or before it, but that run is great. Jason, I think everyone on this stage who's written for the show has at one point answered the question of who do you like to write for? So why don't you give it a go? Who are your favorite characters?
It changes. So for the PSAs, I was loving Sarge, and to be honest, I'm still a really big Sarge fan, and I think he's gonna play a big part in 17. You know, from what we're planning. And then it was Sister for season 16. Because there's so many places she can go. She's a really smart, accomplished person, but also this wonderful repository of sex jokes. And but it's fluid at the moment. It's I'm between characters, but you know, I'm just going to carry on as I currently am. So definitely Sister and Sarge at the moment.
Awesome. And I just had an idea while I have this handy science meter. We can maybe settle a debate here. We're going to cheer for red team versus blue team. So I guess maybe we start with the... Let's start with the blues. Let's hear it for blue
Wait,
team.
before we start, I just want to be clear, there is a right and wrong answer to this.
But all the same,
Spoken
the
like a
loudest cheer
fucking
will be
blue.
Season 17, the winner will be the team for season 17. So
Yeah, that's it. The other team dies.
Joe,
Can we finally declare a winner at the end of 17?
should we include the freelancers?
Let's say about it. Okay, yeah. All right, so it's going to be a three-way race. Let's hear it for the blues. Yes! Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
It's not a length thing.
I think
It's not a length thing. It's just a.
I think honestly, there's no need to ask for the Reds because obviously the Reds are going to beat that. I mean, it would be embarrassing.
All right, let's hear it for red team. All right, and let's hear it for the freelancers.
And everyone on Team Vic.
So
I'd like to
101.
before you announce any results.
Of course.
I'd like to point out that I play the purple character. So I'm the only winner here, no matter what. And I thank you all.
I'm going to cut to the chase. The Blues won by 1/10 of a decibel.
Damn it.
Jason, we still got work to do.
back to the drawing board. All right, never mind.
Cool, we're going to open it up for questions here in about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Does anyone else have any fun stories?
So
from the
I want to talk about something.
Hit it.
So I had to go back and do several re-recording and pickup sessions this season because we had to constantly change how we referred to someone.
Yes.
I believe the first draft of the script had me addressing John Wayne. We decided we couldn't say John Wayne, so I had to go back in and re-record a bunch of lines saying the Duke. Then we've discovered the legal department said we can't say the Duke. So then we had to come up with another name. I don't know what we ended up settling
Well,
on.
after the Duke, we were like famous Western actor, American icon, quasi-racist star of The Searchers, Private John.
I think I added also died with 42 pounds of impacted shit in his colon. Actor from the golden age of Hollywood.
No, you can't say that either. It was definitely like.
known for. I mean,
Yeah,
I just want to point out that you guys are actually saying those words right now, and this is being live streamed, so
Live doesn't count. It's a totally different set
we're
of
about
rules.
to get the shit suit out of us, I think, by somebody.
It's been fun.
Yeah, apparently John Wayne's estate is, they like their lawsuits and stuff. So our legal team was very cautious about what famous celebrity names we say as the historical figures that Sarge and Simmons abduct and take forward in time. So yeah, it was a bunch of back and forth. Every time we would finish the episode, we would then send it to legal and they'd be like, nope, and we'd send it back, and come back in, and they'd be like, nope. So I think we finally settled on just Private John.
Gotcha.
But
Classic.
Thanks. Cool beans. Anyone else got any awesome stories from this season? I mean, we had pizza parties and stuff.
I think it was just really interesting watching you and Jason starting to collaborate. When you started on season 15, it was really exciting seeing all the ideas that you were bringing to the show because, like, I was out of them. And I was like, it was really cool seeing someone coming in with, like you had such excitement and, like, motivation and, like, all these different things that you wanted to do that it was almost like you had a hard time choosing which one. And a lot of it was early on, working with you and just being like, okay, like, let's try and make sure that this character's like this is a really great joke, but it's a little too long or it doesn't fit in. And be like, okay, yeah, back and forth. And then when we brought on Jason, it was really interesting seeing kind of you going through the stuff that I would do in the early days of, like, reviewing scripts and being like, man, I fucking love this joke that Jason wrote, but, like, we just can't have it in this scene, and now I have to tell him that. That sucks. And I was like, yeah, I know. It was just really cool seeing you guys develop a working relationship and how you guys have grown since
My
the start of the
strategy is
season.
to cut those jokes and not tell Jason.
So when you see the episodes, I also see the episodes for the first time, and it's a surprise. It's a wonderful, it's a wonderful experience for both of us. I'm not bitter. It's fine. Yeah, it was great. I mean, we would hang out in the same room and via a complex series of blood rituals, birth these episodes out of the ground, writhing and screaming like Uruk-hai, is that what they're called? Mm-hmm. And truth be told, like I really respect Joe's process, and I made a working list that I'll never show him of all of his strengths that I never, whenever I'm reading through one of his scripts and I'm going to give some notes on it, and they're usually very few. I think like, okay, how are all of these playing to his strengths, and how could I be seeing more of what I know he does really, really well. But yeah. I don't know. I really like Joe a lot, and I think he deserves these seasons. He does a fucking fantastic job.
Thanks, Bubby.
It's fucking kindness and shit.
Cool. So, hey, if you guys want to ask us some questions, there's some microphones and stuff. Yeah.
Slowly and calmly.
Slowly, yeah.
Push, run. If someone's in front of you, knock them down.
Whoa, look at all those questions.
If it's a kid, pick him up, use him as a shield.
A lot of questions.
We're looking for very long questions here, okay? Just as long as you can make them.
No,
if possible.
no.
We've got a lot of time.
Also, shout out to everybody that's cosplaying as a Spartan today because it's hot as hell. And
Yeah,
you look
seriously.
rad, but please drink lots of water.
I remember handing it to them. Double trick, yeah.
I guess we start on the left side here. Thank you. Stage left. Hey, buddy.
Oh, hi. Hi, my name's Talon. My question is for Bernie. Where did you think Red vs. Blue would go from season 1 to now? Like, did you ever think it'd get this big?
Where did I think? There's not a lot of thinking involved with Red vs. Blue. You say that the original idea for the storyline was to be 6 episodes. It's going to be like a mini-series, essentially, and it was going to end with Donut getting his light red armor. That was the last thing that was going to happen it wasn't really called a season. If you look at the first DVDs for Red vs. Blue, they don't say season 1 on them. They just say special edition, because we didn't have plans, until probably it was pretty quick. It's probably the 3rd week when the popularity thing was just taking off. I started thinking, like, well, how can I turn this into something that lasts a little bit longer? But no, I never expected it to go to 16 seasons going into 17, and it's now, I mean, I don't know many television shows that have gotten into that territory. There's only a handful of them that are there. So no, we couldn't possibly have anticipated the amount of support we would have received for this long a period of time.
Yeah, just to, I guess, build one thing off that, I think a lot of shows that have been around for a really long time, like The Simpsons, are way more stagnant than Red vs. Blue. And Red vs. Blue continues to evolve and tells a complicated story where the characters grow, and I think that's like a major strength of the show. Like, if the show was still people in Blood Gulch, like, I don't know if we would all be watching still, But it's like evolved and become a new thing every year, which is awesome. Yeah. On the right.
Go. Oh, hello. Brittany, yes, Miles, big fan.
Thank you.
Oh, heard of you too.
What the fuck?
That's it? Oh, hey man, I heard about you too. You're great.
Fucking dunked on.
Next question.
He prepared his question at the beginning of the panel when we were all here, right, sir?
Yeah. So, question for Joe. Does
Get dunked on again.
Super
Get dunked.
confused.
Anyway, does Wash's breakdown have any significance?
Oh, yeah.
He was just thrown in there for laughs.
I mean, you know,
Classic
Because
comedy.
some people like heard the meta's theme in the background, like.
oh, that's, yeah, so, does it have significance? Well, surely, yeah. I mean, Wash went through a pretty horrible thing. And his character is kind of changed as a result of that. And I think hearing that theme song as he's sort of falling apart and breaking down is a way of sort of bringing together his whole character and his whole history into this moment where he's having a big crisis and a big, you know, shift in character. You know, there's nothing there's nothing hinted at that beyond the fact that it is used as a way of really drawing out the kind of like emotional crisis that he's in at that moment.
As someone who's worked with Nico before, one thing he really likes to do, like he loves themes and motifs, and as well as like really iconic instrumental moments. And everybody knows if you hear one part of, you know, your middle name is Danger, like you instantly think of the meta, you think of Reconstruction, that era, which, as you were saying, was like a super conflicting time in Agent Washington's life. And it's less about, oh, this is literally about the meta, but think of it more as like a period in Washington's life that is very dark and filled with trouble and questions and stuff like that. It elicits the same feelings that you have when you think of that time. And I think if I were to guess, that's probably what you'd go for.
That's I mean, it's referencing its Dark Wash.
Yeah.
Makes a return for a moment, you know?
Yeah. And also shout out to the music this season. Oh my gosh.
Incredible.
David and Nico crushed
They
it.
really killed it.
Chills.
Hello, I like your hat.
Thank you. So my question is a little iffy, so I'm trying to word it in the best way. I've been thinking about it for a week. Do you think that this is going to be more of a Red versus Blue focusing on main characters, or is there any chance we could see people we maybe haven't seen in a while, or maybe like people that were in season 16 might show up, just considering how the setting ended? Like if that is what I'm hinting at, is just trying to get a general idea of who might all be involved.
Is the question essentially who's going to be in season 17? Was that essentially a question?
But very vaguely, because I know you guys have it all planned out, but I don't want you guys to be in the spot of spoiling.
Sure, I mean, I think you can safely assume all the Reds and Blues are going to be in it for sure.
I was worried about that.
And then, I mean, you know, I think that every character who's still alive in the Red versus Blue universe is a piece on the chessboard that may or may not be relevant to the action that comes up as we're writing the scripts. You know, I certainly think that, you know, the characters we introduced in season 16 will be a part of season 17, you know, those that are still around.
All right, thank you.
Cool.
Hello.
Yo.
This is a question for everybody. So this season you brought some historical characters in, which I thought was really, really cool. If you could add another historical character or somebody in real life or a comic book character, who would it be? Because I would like to see Gavin somehow kind of walk onto the screen, and he's trying to find his way out throughout the whole season. So I think that'd be pretty cool.
Is Gavin a historical figure or a comic book character?
Real life character, someone real life. I mean, someone real life or historical.
He's just a myth. Man, that's a fun question. Which historical?
You know, Gavin was in RvB.
Private
Joe Ennis.
Yeah.
Joe Ennis.
He had a very complete arc as a character. Anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used the historical characters that I wanted to use, I used. So there wasn't really anyone that I didn't get to use that I wanted to use. I mean, sure, it'd be fun to be like, hey, yeah, Abe Lincoln should hang out with Red Team or something like that, but...
John Wayne.
Just like explicitly call
Yeah,
it out
just
every
explicitly.
time. Hey, John Wayne, how's it going today, John Wayne?
Hello, first and last name John Wayne.
I hear they call you the Duke, John Wayne.
I mean, obviously, the Cyclops is coming back for season 17 as a main character, primary character.
No,
He's got a really interesting arc.
Which is a historical thing. You know, I mean, it's like we'll bring back some
Who are you going to get to play them in season 17? That sounds really interesting.
We're going to CGI it. I mean,
The whole thing was CGI. We just put you in the thing for fun.
Oh.
I would love to get a cameo by the Tejano band that wrote and performed the original Warthog music.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to get them live performance.
Christopher Walken. For like no other reason than for the fact that I just want to hear him say like, Sarge!
I tried to find one actually for the RvB movie clip that Jax plays. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we tried to find a Walken impersonator for Simmons' character.
Simmons?
Really?
Griff, you gotta clean up your room.
Yeah.
That's a bad Christopher Walken, Jesus. Sarge, I take a bullet for you.
No? Is it? No.
Is your Christopher Walken
down the table?
Is your Walken sick? Like, is he okay?
Listen, he's got like a... Yeah, fuck it, whatever. Quick.
That was a great question.
Hi. So I've seen a group of people from Rooster Teeth reacting to the YouTuber Murder of Birds. Do y'all do any other reactions like that where you just don't record it, or?
Do we
Like,
do we
as a
watch
group-
do we watch a lot of other reaction
Yeah.
video makers?
And like,
It depends on like the individual animator. I know several people on the team will watch a group of different folks. I remember at that point in time, that was just like, it was one, Arnold's Murder Birds. His reaction to one of the episodes of RvB that we made was just like, it was, you know, that was a really hard time in production for all of us, and like his video really made everybody on the team feel like what they were doing was important because just like the raw emotion that came through there. And so like that was just one of those first really special moments, and we sent that back. And you know, if we could do that with everybody, then we would just become a YouTube React channel. But everybody that does make those videos and you know, promotes the shows and stuff, we really appreciate it. And sometimes YouTube algorithms can suck and just like snatch that stuff down, and that's why YouTube is like, whatever. Watch it on Rooster Teeth. But yeah, we appreciate all you guys. So yeah.
thank you.
Thanks. You can move the mic. You're good. Is he fine?
Thanks, Miles. Bernie, Gus, Matt, rest.
Rest.
A question for you, Joe. If Gus wouldn't sign on to be the Cyclops, who would your next pick be, and why?
There's a local actor in town, Sam Edson, who's like a big guy. He was the lead in a movie called Zero Charisma that I really like, and he was sort of on standby.
I've seen that. Yeah, that would have been
great.
good. Yeah.
He would have been great. It's actually better. You're a lot smaller than him, which actually worked out well on the green screen because he's kind of like a big guy, and it would actually been way harder to shoot it with an actual, you know, bigger dude. Yeah, Bernie, you want to do it next year?
Thank you, sir. Please shut up.
When I was dreading getting that mask, that hour-long sarcophagus process, the thing they kept trying to reassure me was they kept saying, don't worry, now that it's done, you never have to have this done again. And I kept saying, why the fuck would they ever need to make another mask of my head? Like, this only ever needs to happen once in my life anyway. Like, they're not making me feel better by saying this is it.
You're fitted for a suit. Hello.
Hi. Yeah. So, as someone who's been a fan since she was a wee lass, and since I've been told I couldn't be a hero, you are been an inspiration to me and probably to everyone in this room at some point in our life, right? So, what I want to know is who inspires you to be the best person you can be?
You've been at so many of our panels this weekend for animation. You always have the best fucking questions. So shout out to you.
Based on the applause, she's more popular than you, Jason.
Man, that's a hard. Has anybody got one down there?
Oh, my wife.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. All of our answers suck now.
Because
I also choose his wife.
Anna, she gives a lot of herself, both to Rooster Teeth and to the world at large, and she doesn't ask for a lot of credit, and I find that inspiring.
And I would say for me, it is, having started, as we often say, in a spare bedroom in Buda, Texas, with 3 or 4 people working together, just crammed in that room. We now have 380 people, right, Matt? We have 380 people working at the company. I have to say, the inspiration comes from everybody who works at Rooster Teeth. It is an incredible group of people, incredibly talented, incredibly diligent, hardworking. I am constantly inspired by things that I just walk around and get a chance to see on people's desks that they're working on, whether it's somebody who's even working in, non-traditional, like audience-facing, like marketing, or the people who work in the merch department, but then also all of our artists and animation. I just draw inspiration from all of our incredible people that work at Rooster Teeth every single day.
From about 300 of them.
Right. 379 people inspired me at the company.
I think for me, it's always been the community and the people that we interact with, knowing that if I do something shitty or not right, that I'm letting them down. Like you said, starting from the very beginning, knowing that we're only here because people watched and supported what we did. That if, we did a shit job or half-assed it, they'd stop watching and I have to go work at Best Buy.
Shout out to everyone who works at Best Buy.
Don't get me wrong, that was my career path, and then this happened.
Kyle, Josh?
I'd have to steal Bernie's answer, because showing up to work and seeing how much effort and work everybody puts in every day, it makes you step up your game, because you're like, I want to be as good as that, or I want to try to be better than that, but I'm not as talented as everyone else, so you can't be better than that, but I want to be close. Yeah. Great.
Piggybacking off of that answer, I think that everybody who works at the company who has something to bring to the table always has something that I can learn from. No matter how much I've mastered my craft, there's always something that I can apply from everybody else who I work with. So I really appreciate you guys who are in the crowd. I don't know where you guys are. Yeah, there you are. But yeah, I love all you guys.
Well, everyone's answers are really wholesome, so I don't know what to say. I mean, everyone's really supportive at the company, and it feels like everyone believes in each other, and then so you believe in yourself because they believe in you, and then you give them that back as well, and it's sort of like it's like a human pyramid. I don't know who's at the bottom because that implies gravity, but I mean, in terms of like artistically and like ethically, I always look to Bill Watterson, who made Calvin and Hobbes. Because he never sold out, and he was always funny, and he was really critical of his own work, and at the end of the day, he made something really pure, and so few. I could count on one hand the amount of artists. Like he's probably like Hayao Miyazaki, and just a few others who are completely true to themselves and don't. It's not derivative and just really straight, and in their trajectory. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, in terms of like artistic inspiration, I think Edgar Wright is like a huge inspiration for me. The way that he treats the camera as a character and is always just thinking about what additional like little touch he can put in, like it's unreal. And then on the animation front, Genndy Tartakovsky, like the way that he can tell stories through visuals alone is just like watching that dude like pitch a scene just with storyboards is like unreal, and I love that stuff.
Bruce Springsteen. I love the boss. I mean, I've seen him like 4 times, and I'm like, that's who I want to be, but for movies.
That was a great question. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Geez, now I have a hard time following that up. This one just one I thought of. During Caboose's time travel adventures, was there any ones you wanted to add in or couldn't really do? Or if you had to choose one that wasn't already there?
Well, I wanted, in season 11, when Caboose is yelling in the cave, and then there's like a call and response, and he yells back, I wanted the response to be future Caboose who time traveled. But that joke is hard to do with photos, and we had to do the sequence as like a photo montage for the fact that it was like really ambitious.
Let's say that's canon though. Screw it. There
Yeah,
you go.
okay,
RTX exclusive. Because I love that so much.
Because it was originally a video sequence and it became photo sequence.
Yeah.
So like it was Caboose caught fire when early man discovered fire, and then he set fire to a bush, which inspired Moses. which is like really controversial. And then The Great Fire of London, and I think we kept a bunch of those in the end. There was
there's in there now is London, Chicago, and Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, Library of Alexandria. Yeah.
And the Mayan, yeah.
Yeah, what you said.
There may have been one or two other ideas.
The Fire Festival.
The Fire Festival. There may have been one or two other ideas on the cutting room floor, but I don't. No, those are all the main ones.
Yeah, that's a good question, man.
Hi. From the last 2 seasons of the animations you guys have done, is there anything you have like doing the most, or is there anything you want to do in the future in like future RvB episodes or something along those lines?
One more time?
In the last 2 seasons, with all the different types of animation you guys have done, is there something you guys have liked doing the most, or want to try something else in the future episodes?
When you say that, do you mean like kind of like the different animation styles we did in the anthology season, or just like the different like animated set piece moments that we've done in like 15?
More so from the previous season.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I as a director, I love format. I love making mockumentaries, making spoofs, really exploring genre in every possible way, shape, and form. And if there's any way to work in other animation styles in RvB, I would certainly look at it as a potential option. But we have no specific plans to do like another stop motion episode in the middle of the season or something like that. I think that's.
Yeah, there was a bunch of cool ones that were from the anthology season that we didn't get to make. Gray in particular had a really scary one that was almost like a horror that we didn't get to do, and Carrie had one that was like an action thing that was really cool. And so I would love to make those at some point, even though we probably won't do another full anthology season, if we can find times to make some shorts and tell those stories we didn't quite get to. Those were really cool.
Yeah.
Horror episode.
Dude.
That would be,
I read Gray's first draft of that script, and shit me, dude. It would have been spooky.
And we've done that in the past. When we finished the Blood Gulch Chronicles, the first run, season 5, there was a lot of things we wanted to tell about the backstory of Tex, which is the Freelancer Saga. So we introduced that with a couple of mini-series. Out of Mind, and why is the other one slipping my mind
Recovery
right now?
1.
It's been a while. What's that?
Recovery 1.
Recovery 1. Thank you. Recovery 1. And and so it was the audience response to that, which was like, okay, they really like these characters. We got a chance to do this with the new trilogy we want to make. So we focused on that more because of those miniseries. So historically we do that. Hopefully we'll be able to do something similar with stretching our creative muscles with that. Yeah.
Those have been a good opportunity also to do things that stretched us creatively, but also technically. And this will sound silly now, but Out of Mind, I just remember was the first time we ever did HD. Yeah. That was the first HD recording of any Red versus Blue. And then
We spent a long time trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy nowadays.
Yeah, and then you think of like the animation that Miles did in the anthology series, with Mercs. It's like that was another like huge leap, right? And I love doing them for that reason as well. Like creatively, they push you. Narratively, you find new characters, and then also like you overcome these technical challenges that pay dividends not just for Red versus Blue, but for the entire animation department, I think. Cyclops.
Awesome. Thanks.
So for the writers that have come on after, or somewhat recently, what was your preparation for starting to write? Like, did you go back and binge watch every episode 6 times, or read hundreds of pages of fan fiction and fan theories? Like, what did you do to get ready and prepare yourself to start writing?
Well, I had to take a few months out to learn to read. You just start with episode 1 and rewatch everything and get yourself into the mindset of, okay, where do these characters go? What do they deserve? What do the fans want to see? How is the structure working out? You see patterns across certain seasons. You see that there's 3 characters traveling together, and one of them's smart, one of them's somewhere in between, and one of them's an idiot, and that's a classic setup for comedy, And is that still relevant in the later seasons? Or has it moved on from that? So in terms of preparation, it wasn't all rewatching old episodes and planning. A lot of it was trying to pull in other sources of inspiration. Books and film and cartoons. We watched a lot of modern mainstream comedy and stuff, yeah, it's like how long's a piece of string, how much preparation. It's just everything feeds into into it, you know. But talking to Joe really helped as well. You know, once we did that, you know, we started writing properly, I think.
Yeah, similarly, I think I watched through all of Red vs. Blue multiple times per year. I have like we don't have like a Bible for the show like most shows do, but I have my own version of the Bible, which is I just take notes on every rewatch, and it gets longer and longer and longer, and I highlight things in the show that I haven't noticed before, you know, and I think like, well, maybe I can, in this next story, include reason why Griff gave Sarge CPR in season 1, you know, and that becomes part of the next story. It's almost like everything that ever happened in Red vs. Blue is true, and what does that mean that's true that hasn't been explored yet in the series? So.
My favorite part of Joe's preparation was when he first watched RvB all the way through. He just had his wisdom teeth removed.
I was really high.
And you were really high on a bunch of pain medication they gave you, and then you had to watch it all again because you couldn't remember what happened.
I was just really high and really happy.
And that's
I was
where
like,
the
yeah, I want to
paradox
work
came
on this.
from.
Sign me up.
And I came to, and there was this whole season written, and it was the Shizno paradox.
Thanks. One of the characters gains the Infinity Gauntlet. What do they do?
If a Red vs. Blue character gets Infinity Gauntlet. And we should definitely start on that. What would Church do with Infinity Gauntlet? What would Sarge? I know what Sarge would do. What would Simmons do?
I think Caboose would find the bubbles thing from Energy 4, and he'd just be making bubbles all day.
I feel like Caboose would just be like, yeah, I want a sandwich, and then he'd get one and be like, right, that's great. Why don't you just put this away now? You know, next time I want something, maybe I need to go to the bathroom.
I mean, I think he wouldn't know it's like powerful. He would just use it like an oven mitt. I got a glove. Yeah.
He keeps it in the drawer. Yeah. Oh man, I wish this thing get so hot. Oh hey, cool down. Oh weird. Anyway.
And then we would write it, and then Joel would go in the booth and go, ah, 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 and you wouldn't know what he said.
Oh man. I think Jax would then just do his own version of the Avengers
and
and claim it as his own.
Jax would just make the Shizno paradox, I think.
Joe, you do your Jax voice. I've heard it's really good.
Oh, I mean, it's just my voice, but like a little higher and kind of more mad. Oh, just really mad.
I gotta say, seeing of all the characters I expected to get character development, Jax was the last one I thought I was gonna see who like changed a lot between 15 and 16, and I fucking loved it. Director Jax is one of my favorites.
Yeah, well, I told my wife I wanted Jax to be like a really shitty director in the next season, and she's like, no, but what about all the people who like him? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about that. That's not a concern.
I like Jax.
Yeah, it was great because once you first saw Jax in the new season, I was looking at Reddit and Tumblr and so on and the forums, and it was just like, I like Jax now, and people were like mad.
Everybody changes. Thank you.
Hi. Well, first I was just gonna say a good troll joke, if you ever get to 20 seasons, which you will, would be make everybody download it on Divx.
Write that down. Write that down.
As a callback.
I like the way you think.
What's your question?
What does that mean?
Is it possible for Red vs. Blue, do you think, or has it already jumped the shark? Or since it's got its feet in so many different genres, is it more immune to it?
I did write a shark jumping scene in season 11, but Bernie told me to get rid of it, so I thought it was cool.
Yeah, what would jumping the shark mean? I mean, I don't know. I think that if a show is always staying true to the characters at its core, then it really can't jump the shark. And if it's going to abandon a core value of a character for the sake of absurdity or spectacle, that means jumping the shark to me, you know? Jumping the shark to me doesn't mean throwing the characters in a wild, new, crazy situation. Jumping the shark means, to me, sacrificing the character for spectacle. You know?
Yeah. And Fonzie survived the shark jump, so really there's a lot we can take from that.
I think the closest we got to jumping the shark was when we introduced time travel in season 3. That was just like, whoever was writing that was just crazy.
Perfect, makes sense.
We're gonna do one last question. Let's do over here.
So, have y'all ever thought about doing a spin-off series with the freelancers or with Locus and Felix?
I mean, yeah. We've definitely thought about it for sure. It's just a matter of time and budget, and there's a lot that you can't just go make a spin-off series. It's really hard, and there's a lot that goes into it, but I definitely think it's stuff that we've all talked about before. The universe of Red versus Blue is huge at this point.
Yeah, it's a big universe, and I think it could get bigger. I think that more spin-offs and more characters and more miniseries would be cool. I mean, there's no reason why it can't be an extended universe. You know?
The RvBCU. Christ.
I think it'd be fun. So we got less than a minute left, and before we go, Jason has a big premiere today, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about what he's working on. He's been working on this for 6 years, and so you should definitely check it out, Jason.
Oh, okay. I have a cartoon that just came out today. It's 22 minutes long. It's a sci-fi comedy about a guy who deletes all of his own memories and then finds himself on a ship in deep space without how he got there, and it starts a year later, and it's about how much of an awful shit he's become. And it's on YouTube as of this morning, and we're premiering it for festivals tomorrow here, the Sunday morning cartoons.
Yeah, 10:30 tomorrow morning. You should all check it out.
Starship Goldfish.
Yeah, we've seen it. It's awesome.
It's rad. Super rad.
Great. Well, we got 10 seconds left, so I'm going to use it just to thank, first of all, everyone on this stage. I work with all of you, and you are all amazing. Thank you, Bernie and Matt, for trusting me, and Miles, to take this series in awesome, crazy new directions.
Crushing it.
And hey, thanks everyone here for watching and then coming and tuning in.
Have a great RTX, everybody.